Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Padmayami. Om Bodhicitam Utpadayami. 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 May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you by the power of Buddhas. May all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you by the power of Vadanya. May all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you by the power of Osiris. May all happiness be yours.
thank you very much to the choir. It was a great start to our afternoon. And a really big welcome to everybody here, and a big welcome to everybody who's watching on YouTube as well. It's great to see you all. We had hoped the Lord Mayor was going to come, but sadly she couldn't come because of the sad death of the Queen. But I'm really pleased that Padmavajra is here. It's great, and many other honoured guests. So welcome to you all. So this is a day of gratitude, a day of thanksgiving for all that we've been given, and actually a lot that I just take for granted, like being in this amazing building. And hopefully this is a day where we can show and express our gratitude to the generous and far-sighted people who bought this building and refurbished it, and created this really very beautiful building and very beautiful gardens as well, where our sangha has grown and flourished, and hopefully will continue to grow and flourish. So well, the teaching of the Buddha, the Dharma, is very precious. And although in some ways very simple, it's often very difficult to put into practice. So for many reasons, we need sangha to help us practice the Dharma. Partly just because when we do anything, it's much easier if we do that with friends. But I think there are more profound reasons for coming together as a sangha. As the founder of our movement, Satyajyoti, said, it's most likely that the arising of the Bodhicitta, which is the will to enlightenment, the movement, the volition, the wish for enlightenment for all beings, for the sake of all beings, it's more likely that will arise when a group of people come together, working on something that's bigger than them, working together, overcoming all that kind of self and other issues that happens for something that is bigger. And the figure of Avalokiteshvara, above my head, the figure of Avalokiteshvara represents how we can all be one hand, one arm of the Bodhisattva together, all coming from the Chintamani, which is the wish-fulfilling jewel that the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara holds at his heart, which is the Bodhicitta. So I think those people who put so much love and so much care and time into finding this building for us and then refurbishing it and making it so beautiful are very much those hands of Avalokiteshvara, and we benefit from that today. And of course, a sangha is much more than bricks and mortar. It's made of relationships, communication between people. The Buddha field is made of living beings. But the atmosphere of this building and the gardens does contribute so much. So often people will come in and they'll go, I just love the feeling in here. I love the calm. There's something precious here, something special that they can't really put their hands on. So a feeling that this building gives us. Yes, and it's a big centre, isn't it? It's big. However, 20 years ago, it was a very small centre. I started going along in Broom Hill, which was a room that was hired. And I can't remember I don't know how many order members there were then, maybe about 8 or 9 or something like. Sangha night was great. There was about 25 people. There was hardly any mitras, hardly any mitra study groups. And now here we are today when often on a Monday night, for instance, when it's a men's mitra study, they haven't got enough rooms, even in this really big building, for all the groups that want to meet. There's over 50 order members now. All the people that are here, all the people that have been involved over the years. So we have really the vision that the founders of this building had, that this building would be full of sangha, has come true. So today we're going to hear from some of those people involved in the purchase and the refurbishment of the building and the creation of the sangha. The afternoon's in 2 parts. First of all, we're going to watch some videos and hear some talks. And then at about 3-ish, something like that, there'll be a tea break. And then half an hour after that, we'll come back together, hear 3 short personal talks, and then Padmavajra will lead us in a 7-fold puja. So some people who are key to the centre's creation aren't here. And when I realised who wasn't here, I suppose I really felt impermanence and dukkha, actually. So Susiddhi, the first chair, really key, who died some years ago. Sihapada, who we'll see on one of the videos, now in a care home and not able to come. Vimlamati, who we'll see in a video as well, couldn't come because she's broken her leg very badly. Great to have Amoghavamsa here, even though he's not going to take part in giving any of the talks, but great that he could be here. And many other people who were involved who haven't come today. But it's great that we do have some people who are involved who are here today. And what's going to happen is, first of all, now we're going to watch a couple of videos. One that was firstly made when the building was being planned, when the sort of planning was going on. And then the second, which records the official opening of this building, which happened 20 years ago on September the 15th. After those videos, Achara will come up and will tell us more about what happened back in the day.
Sangha recently moved out of their rented 3-room centre to a new location.
My first impression was like this place, we were just walking past it years ago, looking at it, looking up at it, thinking, that would make a really lovely Buddhist centre. And there we are, wildest imaginations, thinking that we get it.
It was on the market for offers over 300,000. It was quickly obvious we couldn't afford anything like that. So I went back to the sellers, who were the Roman Catholic Church, and said, would you be interested, would you be prepared to look at an offer around about 200,000? And they said, yes, we would. And then we offered 100,000. They said, I need not to try again. But a couple of months short, we ended up running the whole complex for 170,000. Which with Sheffield property prices is a very modest purchase price. We had a community that sold for 150,000, a semi-detached house quite near here, and we just needed to find another 20,000, which we had from income over the years from the shop. So we managed to buy the place for cash. We didn't have to borrow any money.
It wasn't an easy process of trying to buy the place, but I think it was fair to say that most people saw what they were getting was really something quite special. For an amount of money that we just couldn't hope to, we just couldn't hope to buy something like this for. Again, if we didn't get, we were being offered something sitting on a plate. There were all sorts of jokes about, oh, God must have changed religion. There was a certain amount of nonsense about it in the church. I think the general feeling was that it wasn't great for the church and church. I think there was something symbolic in the sense about the church, that it sort of symbolised our spirituality in this country moving on, maturing beyond the main, what had been the main focus for it. If the house was built in 1840, it would have been a country house, fields all around it when it was first built. And then it got taken over by the Catholics until the 1870 they built a chapel on the back of it and extended the house.
So how long does it sort of take that to get some idea about the...
I've just spoken to our church, and they said there's some pictures.
If you can get hold of Achara...
There is an amount of structural work to do, which we knew about. It does need a new roof. The Great Hall needs a new roof within a year or two. There was some rising damp, which we've already cured. We've done some work on foundations. We need more toilets, which we built, and we needed a kitchen for the community. So in terms of a functioning centre, within a few months, we've done everything that we need to do to get a functioning centre, with the exception of the Great Hall.
Everyone who comes and looks at it says, wow, this is amazing, this is really quite amazing. The space just has quite an impact on people, especially if you go up in the minstrels gallery and look at it. It's a very lovely place, actually. We've done quite a lot of devotional practice in there, and people have been very positive. People have been very positive about it. Now, some people do go, I don't think this is church. But on the whole, it's been a very, very positive response to it. It can create quite an awe and space. There's a people factor in there, actually. If you get into devotional practice and chanting, just the sheer size of the place, the echo that you get, it's very, very chanting. And it can happen to send chills up the spine. There's just going to be a sense of awe in there. which you don't usually get in the usual size of shrine. But we're aware that some people have got issues with it, and we're going to have to make it distinctively Buddhist. It's going to have to look distinctively Buddhist. As to how we do that, well, there's probably two phases about that. One is in the longer term when we go for the money, which we really haven't got at the moment. We're going to have to do it very cheap in the short term. In the longer term, we want to create something really beautiful in there, and we really think we can.
We're a bit concerned that it's a little bit out of the city centre, about equidistant to the previous place of room. But it's actually proved more popular. We've got space for people to park the cars. So in our lunchtime classes have grown because people can go from work, drive here, meditate, drive back to work. But I've been back a few times to the old centre, it feels so small, a bit mean almost. It's almost like, the Dharma deserves something better than this. It's not just a Buddhist centre, there's an immense community of it. And there's 4 of us living there. One of the things about it, of course, is we've got gardens. We've got over an acre of land, which is that's really nice actually. So it's big enough to hold trees in it, but it's almost secluded enough that you can have that sort of a tree atmosphere. So that means loads of possibilities that just completely didn't have in one place.
I've personally found the whole process of looking at a church and buying a church quite healing in many ways. My relationship with Christianity, I found the whole thing very positive. Amongst other things, it's a debt I have to the Christian tradition that we built this beautiful place and cared for it and passed it on to us.
The new Sheffield Buddhist Centre is in a converted Catholic church, and in September, Satyajyoti attended its official opening. The day's celebrations have begun with the chant Amoghavamsa.
I'd like to welcome you all to our grand opening. Very popular conference. It's very wonderful to see you all here. It's brilliant to see you all here. Satyajyoti is going to come and go through with a pair of It was really lovely to see our kids and just people from the past, just turning up and joining in and seeing our England, and that's just been. So we have the way there. It is very important that we make stronger and stronger links with the community, and because there's so much we can do, so much more to do, and the more we're a strong presence in the city, well, the more people are going to get a taste of the Dharma Vinaya, get a taste of freedom.
Vadanya outlines some of the history of the building.
The 3rd of May 1872 edition of Building News reports the first opening of this building. And it says, the new church at St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Girls' Home was dedicated on the 21st Ultimo. The dimensions of the building are 70 foot long, by 24 foot wide, by 55 foot high. It is a nave in one span, having a semicircular apsidal sanctuary. The ceiling is wagon-headed with moulded arches and ribs of wood at intervals.
I think we've done a lot of transformation here. And I think that's been very tangible, actually, where the place has grown. With the spiritual practice that's been going on here. I mean, we've been meditating, we've been doing classes. As soon as we got in, we didn't have a period when we were just working in the centre and then classes started. We had the classes here from the beginning. And I think that's made a big difference. It's just been unbelievable having so many people here today. And people from all around the world. It's just I'm very, very impressed that so many people come. And it just feels like, well, they've set the seal for us. Now we can progress.
Sweet Valentine, you make me smile in my heart.
The order here is not very big in Sheffield. There are only 11 of us. And we've worked so well together. It's been just such a wonderful cooperative effort. Because none of us have done this before, you know. Don't get too many chances in life to build up with this stuff.
It's just got everyone working together. And to me, I mean, I don't recognise it sort of new account, just what, you know, how it's transformed me, really. It's, I'll recommend it. Get a chance to open and release something.
Hi, so I'm Achara, for anyone who doesn't know me. It's left me a bit emotional watching that. I noticed I had dark rings around my eyes. Did you notice? So just a few words on how this centre came to be, at least through my eyes. I don't have long, so I can't rejoice in everybody, but a few rejoicings. And I can't talk about this centre without mentioning Prince Siddhartha and the mendicant that inspired Prince Siddhartha to become the Buddha, who inspired subsequent followers of the Dharma, who inspired the person who wrote the Dharma, the Diamond Sutra, who inspired Dennis Lingwood, who seemed to awaken at a young age to a lifetime teaching the Dharma, to the F.W. Bill and Tri Ratna. And my friend and teacher, Amoghavamsa, who was my own foresight, as soon as I saw him, I knew that he was practicing, and that meant the Dharma was alive in the West. And also my dear friend and preceptor, who ordained me in 2000 in India, Padmavajra, who's travelled specially to be with us today, the president of our centre. Padmavajra may or may not remember that when he gave me my name, the first thing he said is, I was reading a book about the restoration of the Ajanta caves. So these are medieval caves in India, monuments to the Dharma. And the person who restored them was somebody called Achara. And he said, as soon as I read that, I knew who that was. So I had a spell cast on me, names of a power, because within a year, Vadanya and I were ordained together, and within a year, we were contemplating the purchase of this building. It was interesting because actually we looked at several buildings. There's a building that became David Village Lighting in Broom Hill. We looked at that. We looked at a building in West Street. And I was always involved because they assumed I was a financial guy. It's not true, I'm more than finances, but anyway, I was involved. But it was always, no, you can't do it. But this one came along. I remember the day the brochure dropped into my lap from Amoghavamsa. And it was funny, I think partly because it looked a bit like Padmavajra, Surlingham House in the brochure, the back of it. I thought it could be game on, this could be game on. But I had to work back and work out what we could afford. And that was less than half of what they were asking. So anyway, that's gone into folklore, hasn't it? We decided, we got the green light. I mean, that wasn't an entirely straightforward decision. I'm going to share 2 meetings that Vadanya and I participated in, because they illustrate something about sangha. So you have to remember, only ordained for a year. And we go into this meeting and it seems pretty obvious, as a few of us are willing to get on with this project. But actually, there was some ambivalence and doubt. There really wasn't support. So I came away from this meeting in half. I was straight on the phone to Vadanya, privately petulant. So that's the worst meeting I've ever been in my whole life. Who are this bunch? Maybe we have to find an order. It was all machine gun talk from a water pistol. It wasn't real. But anyway, I was sort of frankly appalled by this meeting that we weren't going to get a green light. But this is where I want to rejoice in the gritstone foundations behind Sheffield, because behind the scenes, Punyamala and Advayacitta and Amoghavamsa were just rock solid. And I gather what happened was a few things happened. Punyamala was a tremendous steady influence. Punyamala and Advayacitta had moved to Sheffield a few years before, with the vision of helping to found them, which they did. They really created the conditions for the sangha. Punyamala, I think, was a very steady influence, and Advayacitta brought a smile to my face, because he had, with the Amoghavamsa, what I call a closed-door pep talk. And the closed-door pep talk was, Amoghavamsa, you need to make your wishes clear, and you just need to ask for support, which Amoghavamsa did. We were talking about this recently. Amoghavamsa said to me at that stage, he burst into flames. And he wasn't just being poetic, he was on fire apparently for 2 weeks. So we had another meeting, and which I didn't have high hopes for, and that turned out to be one of the best meetings of my life. So that was something about the order, because I found the hard way that when there's polarization and tension, often things get worse. Whereas in these circumstances, actually, we'd all gone away, thought about our behaviour, and come back better than we had been in the meeting before. So we got the green light. It was, the ambivalence was, we weren't a big site then, it was a big project. I reckon, I can tell already I'm going to run over time. But anyway, I'll keep going. I just must mention, we do a practice when you're ordained at sadhana, visualization. So the first thing I did was took on the visualization practice. I sat at Chatsworth House for a day and looked at Chatsworth House. And this thing went from this immense task to like a little outhouse. But I had three worries. I'll come to the second worries, but one of them was the Great Hall. I've got a few stories to tell about the Great Hall. But we're very blessed by, so I took on the project, that was part of the deal. And we did it, I think we did it very well in the main. And one of the reasons was there was just a lot of trust. You know, everything wasn't facilitated and democratic. It was actually, if something happens, I need to agree to this. So, you know, I'd like us to have some structure around here and make decisions in a way that it's clear who's got the responsibility. And that was honoured. And one of the cleverest things we did, I don't know if it was my idea or not, but we had a decorating cooler to decide on the colour scheme. And we had an agreement that whatever people's opinions, if you weren't part of the decorating cooler, you would not comment on the decor. And I reckon that doubled the harmony overnight. But I was blessed by a lot of help. A lot of help came from Pip McTaggart, who was a mitra here, and she always gave me good advice on who to speak to and who to involve. So one person is here, Russell Light. Russell was very generous with his time. We didn't have a big budget. So there wasn't a lot we could do. We didn't have money for big architectural fees, but Russell, whose name is appropriate, Russell Light, helped us understand how we could make use of light and bring it into the building. And just was a very helpful guiding hand. Stuart Graham, who's become a friend, was a surveyor, and he was great. He just said, this building's okay. I said, I want a bigger, more expensive survey. I want more reassurance. He said, if I charge you 4 times as much, I'll just tell you the same thing. It's fine. The roof will fall in one day. We'll talk about that later. And others, Phil Mills, there were other people. Special mention to Dhruva Singer, who did a lot of the early work. It's easy to forget how much we did. We had to rearrange what became the men's community. There was a kitchen. Where the toilets are now was, the floor was collapsed. It was damp. When we bought the building, Father Brebner, who I really liked and appreciated the decency of the cellars. But Father Brebner boasted to me that the heating bills were only £100 a year. And I didn't say anything, but I thought, yeah, well, that's why there's water running down the walls. Another big mention, just in case I forget, Vadanya, who worked with me, this underfloor heating, which was one of the keys to the puzzle. Vadanya worked with me and did a lot of work there. So let me talk about this hall, because really, it was called the chapel initially. At a certain point, only because it was in my drawings, I said, could we just please call it the Great Hall? Well, that name stuck. So the Great Hall. But whilst it looked pretty good in the video, I mean, frankly, it was cold, it was damp. You could not hear yourself speak. It might work as an orchestral chamber, but for talking the Dharma, it was impossible. So I did have some nervousness around that. You know, sometimes you just got to take a chance. I didn't know if and how you could solve that. And then there was the roof. I only discovered a week ago that, one of the reasons we felt we could buy this place is the stained glass windows are not ecclesiastical. But that's because the Germans mistook this during the war. It was mistaken for a factory and it got bombed. And it blew the windows out. So they put in these new windows. They also blew something else out, the inner roof. It weakened it, but we didn't know that
when we bought it. So that brings me on to phase 2, where, how am I doing for time? Keep going. I'm going to keep going anyway. This is my moment. Yeah, so we kept back £50,000, that's maybe £100,000 in today's money for the roof. Sounds enough, doesn't it? We needed 4 times more than that. So I was correct for the wrong reasons, because English Heritage, because it's a listed building, actually English Heritage, they do make available grants to look after these buildings. So and we had a fantastic guy. I tried to contact him for him to be here, Andrew Shepherd, who's an architectural, a historic surveyor. And he did a no cure, no pay, it's called in the trade. You make the application. If you get the money, you've got the job. If you don't, no money. But he offered that. So he made an application, and we got a grant. But a few funny stories that I'll share quickly. Well, the first thing, actually, it wasn't a funny story. I had this bright idea that turned out not to be such a good idea, that if we scaffolded and sealed, created a mezzanine scaffolding, we could continue with classes, including yoga. My idea did not withstand 1 century of dust and dirt. so it was like a mist in here. And I was in denial. The classes were contained, everybody's coming out filthy. But eventually one very pleasant lady Mitra said to me, I don't want to be made a Mitra in these conditions, that will ruin my flock. You're right. See what I can do. So you could hardly believe this. There's a school across the road that some developers had bought. So I got on the phone and said, I know this is a bit precocious, but could we borrow it for a few months, please? To which the answer was yes. So we relocated over the road for a couple of months. What other stories? I'm going to cut it a little short because I've already.
You've got time.
Is it okay? Is it all right? So that was an event. I'll mention very quickly the rear dots that looked like a wedding cake. We almost managed to sell it to a Japanese golf club. And I managed to get £1,750 for the pews, remember? And it all counted. But this project, it's worth, I'll talk about this quickly. So that ceiling is like an upside down Viking boat. And what became apparent was that it's a strange construction where a slate's nailed to the underside, and roofs get nail sick after a century. So basically that lot was going to come down. So we only discovered this once we started doing the outside roof. And English Heritage were fantastic because they say, you work out what you need, you don't come back. And we did. We did come back because of this roof. But I mentioned the roof for a couple of reasons. Do you remember me saying this place is a great orchestral chamber, but you couldn't hear yourself talk? So there's a thing called RT. If you clap, it's how long does the clap last, and it mustn't last for more than a second. It used to last for 4 seconds in here. So we fixed that. These rather ugly, apologise that we didn't do better with budget, but these rather ugly louvers are actually to take flutter echo out so we can hear ourselves speak. But there was still a problem because of this. So we managed to find an acoustic plaster that actually completely solved the acoustics. It's very important for talking the Dharma. But and I know many of you had this story, but I can't finish without mentioning the Buddha in the belfry. So Andrew, who had far more initiative than I realised. I said to him, do you remember seeing the bell in the belfry? Did anyone spot the bell? I said, it'd be nice if we could take that bell down and pop a Buddha in the belfry. And the Buddha we're going to pop in, that's an exact replica of that golden one, 2-foot Buddha. So unbeknown to me, he applied for planning permission. It's a listed building, you can't just take the bell down. Next thing I knew, double-page spread, naming and shaming religious groups for pulling strings behind the scenes. And it hit the BBC World News website. It was the first thing I knew about it. Completely scurrilous reporting. They cleared the chamber just to discuss our finances, and this was deemed to be us with our extreme religious power pulling strings behind the scenes. So anyway, we got permission to put this Buddha in the belfry, and obviously it was a sensible thing to do because we were doing open heart surgery on the roof. But it was Susidi actually. We were in a meeting and I was telling Susidi this story and chuckling about it, and he said, well, I don't know why you're chuckling. If the neighbours, I missed a very important part, one of the neighbours was very unhappy that we were doing this. He said, if neighbours aren't happy, we shouldn't do it. I said, you're right, Susidi. That's the one thing that I don't think we or I did very well. I think we underestimated the symbolic, archetypal, the importance of what we were doing. And just what ructions, everything from planning permission to saw a crucifix off a church roof, which caused the roofers distress. There was things that weren't on my radar, and this was one of them. I thought we were at liberty to pop a Buddha in the belfry. So anyway, I agreed with Susidi, but I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go and see the individual who's so unhappy. So I had a Volvo estate at the time, which was hilarious. The standing Buddha lay in it, so it was like a hearse. So I turned up to this young woman and knocked on the door, sort of, come to see you about the Buddha and the belfry. So you want, you can do what you want. I said, well, I know we can, but we're not going to, if you're not happy. But would you at least have a look? So I could tell that sort of, she softened and said, well, let me get the neighbours round. So we gathered, it was hilarious. We sort of popped this thing in the car park and the neighbours all gathered. And she said, well, where is it? Is that it? I said, yeah, that's it. She said, oh, I imagined a 10-foot fluorescent pink Buddha. She said, you can pop it there as long as it's not gold. I'm happy. So well, funny you mentioned that. It needs to be gold for it to survive the weather. If I can confirm my words, I'll double check. Will you accept? She said I would. I can't resist the footnote. She became a friend to the sangha. She used to come here and put Christ in the second, third, and fourth stages of the Vadanya. And she said she had better communion with Christ here than in her own church. And also we've inspired, rather than try and get in our way, the fact we were getting on with it inspired her to get on with her practice. Because she said she was struggling a bit, and I really understood that. She didn't want to open the door to a Buddha. There is a footnote, but I'm not. Ask me over tea. Ask me over tea about the footnote. It was very touching why it upset her. So I think I'm about there actually. Let me just check, make sure. Oh, well, I can't finish without, I said there was three things worried me. I've talked about one of them, was this hall, the acoustics, the heating, the roof. Everything worried me about it, actually. But the other things that worried me are maintenance. It's okay getting the building set up, but you have to look after it in the garden. The garden terrified me, because wildlife is wild, it does its own thing. And I don't have a clue. I've contributed nothing to that. So I have this fear of the whole thing getting out of control. Anyway, thank you to Suri, Mati, and Generous generous garden cooler. It's actually, in many ways, it's the most attractive feature of the whole property. So I can't say how delighted I am that particular anxiety has been removed. And also maintenance, Bodhinaga, and we've made some friends along the journey, like Alan Thompson, who's done a lot of work. So, and I've got very little to do with the building anymore. I don't even get consulted on it, which is a happy problem. So, you know, it's been a good building. And I just feel we're custodians, you know, for future generations of practitioners. And I've developed a connection with Father Bredner. I think Father Bredner was pleased that it had gone to a good home, so to speak, and that we'd done something with it, even though our heating bills are now £100 a month. So £100 a year, our heating bills are more than that. Great, so I'll go.
Thank you so much, Action. That was just great, really great. Thank you. I just want to say that Laura is our official photographer. So if she's moving about and taking pictures, that's what she's doing. And because it's so great, isn't it, to have those videos of, you know, 20 years ago. I think it's really important that Laura does take photographs. So yeah. No, I can see you're being really careful, but don't worry too much about it. You can take those photographs. Okay, so now we're going to have a couple of videos. Firstly from Punyamala, who Achara talked about. Punyamala's on retreat today, so she couldn't come herself, but she recorded a video, and it was a fantastic video, but quite long, so we've only chosen about 8 minutes of it. And Punyamala's going to talk about, so Punyamala was moved here with Advayacitta, I don't know exactly when did he move? 89, great. And very much pioneers with the aim of creating a Buddhist centre here in Sheffield. And Punyamala talks in this excerpt from the video about the factors that allowed this Buddhist centre to arise, because there was, it was already a Buddhist centre going. It wasn't like Sheffield Buddhist Centre was founded when we moved into this building. So she talks quite a lot about those factors that allowed Achara and others to buy and create this centre. And after Punyamala, we'll have a short clip from Vimlamati. Vimlamati had broken her leg, so couldn't be here. I think you can see in the corner of the shot, you can see her crutches. So Vimlamati moved from Leeds to be part of the Evolution Shop. So the Evolution Shop was a right livelihood shop. Started off with a Christmas shop that Amoghavamsa was part of, and then set up a shop which was down in the city centre. And many people here, I'm looking at Satyajyoti, Majidasa, Vadanya, all sorts of people worked in that shop and came through from that shop. At the time that Vimlamati was involved, it was a women-only team, and they made a lot of, as well as working together and working together as Buddhists, they also made money that helped us to afford this building. So you'll hear her talking for a few minutes. And after that, Vadanya will come up and give his little talk. I won't say what he's going to talk about because he'll say that.
We're celebrating the 20th anniversary of getting Rose, which was, you know, hugely puzzling, hugely significant. But there was quite a lot that went on before that, and I think in a way our ability to purchase Rose came out of the conditions that have come before. I think it's something part of it. So the two key factors that I would sort of highlight really that enabled us to make that purchase in 2001, so two. Firstly, so Sheffield Buddhist Centre, well, well, I guess in a way the centre came into existence in 1993 when the council formed. Myself, Advayacitta, City. And I think what was really, really significant about that was that it was the founding of the Sheffield Centre was really rooted in friendship. So City agreed to move to Sheffield to become chair of the centre. And because he moved here, and Amoghavamsa moved here because they were friends. And then Satyajyoti moved here because he was with Padmavajra. So the beginning of the real sort of beginning of regular classes and so on, and having when the proper program classes and things started in 1994, and that was rooted in friendship. And also, actually, I just will mention a woman on the London Buddhist Centre Summit. She moved here also in '93, because she had a very strong commitment to seeing women settle down in the North of England, because she was from the North and South, and she had a really good friendship with the person who became the Steel Dharma, and they, Brenda as she was, she moved from Leeds, and some people moved from London, and that was because, again, it's a friendship. So, you know, although we think of the centre, we think of Brits and Morton, actually, centres exist, the centre only exists, it's a sangha, and our sangha is very clearly rooted in friendship. And then, interestingly, when I was thinking about this, I think of another very significant point was in 1995, in a way, the Mitra Sangha came into being. So if you look at the picture of Mitras, there's 1995 and 9 people made Mitras. One of them was Achara. And I think prior to that, people became Mitras, maybe ones or twos, and sometimes it was because they needed the work. Sometimes they got in touch, they met through Taraloka or Pamaloka, and then they looked for something here, because that's where they were living. But what was significant about those 9 people who became interested in 95, I thought partly their numbers, that was but also they all come through the classes that we've been running in Sheffield, so they all come through, as it were, Sheffield Centre classes. They weren't just here because of water, because of whatever. So I think that was another really significant point, that there were these people who were obviously really committed to Buddhism and the Dharma, but they were committed to it in the way that it was being presented in Sheffield, which is local sangha. So I think that's just been a very important strand in the development of Sheffield. You know, it's just been built on very, very solid foundations. And then the other thing, the other key factor from those years, which enabled us to buy the centre and hardware, is the fact that City had a lot of common sense in a very sort of pragmatic way, and was also very generous. So there was this interest publications community in Cookson around, and that community sort of dissolved, and they were moving on. They had to sell the property. And we had no money. So, you know, we couldn't afford to buy it. And the city was just adamant. He just said it was really, really important that we bought it. So he had that vision, or he sort of knew about the importance of owning property, really. And he kind of insisted that, or said it was really important that we bought it. So in the end, he decided or chose to return to work as a pharmacist. So he trained re-registration as a pharmacist and went back to work as a pharmacist so he could pay the mortgage, which was enormously generous of him. And it also meant this very poignant story around it, how he had to give up his car, which he loved, left his car, and then bought two. Right? So he was just very generous and but also had this vision that, of the importance of property. He had a really strong pragmatic common sense. And I would say just generally about the order in Sheffield and our community here, there is a lot of common sense and maturity, which again, I think has been those qualities have been very important. So it was the fact that we had that we owned property in Crooksmore Road that enabled us to buy however it gave us the deposit. So without that, without owning that property, we wouldn't have been able to do that. Which also just reminds me, at the beginning of the Advayacitta, the Buddha talks about the importance of being able and capable in the worldly sense. So I would say there's been a lot of capable, we've been very fortunate, sort of able and capable people in the order in Sheffield. We've been able to see the importance of things like property and so on. So those are kind of those are sort of one or two factors which I think were really crucial. Yeah, without cities, insistence and your generosity, we wouldn't be able to buy.
I came to Sheffield in '96, and it was to join a team at the Evolution shop, being in the Evolution shop the year before, Christmas shop. And at the time, I didn't know whether it would just be for Christmas or it would keep going. So it was really good that I came, and Amoghavamsa was leading the team at that time. It was just great, and I was just looking forward to working with the Buddhists. And also, I was going to Sheffield because there was a cluster of maybe it was 4 Dharmacharis, which there wasn't any Dharmacharis in Leeds at that time. And I just wanted to have that experience of being Dharmacharis on my journey to ordination. So, so when I moved here, the centre was up in Broomhill, and it was clear that the space was adequate, but it would be lovely to have something bigger. So I can remember people looking around at different properties, and I remember looking one at the city centre, which was really nice, which was an old making venue, and some others were very keen on that. And right from the off, it was great that we were creating money that was for our local centre, but also that we was trading and we was trust museum and the projects and stuff. So, what is it? Work for illusion, combination of hard work, learning to work with people's idiosyncrasies and what they love doing and what they hate doing, and learning some new skills, and making sure the team got what they needed spiritually and things. I don't like to do any work that doesn't have plenty of elements of fun in it, which was, of course, one of the great things about Amoghavamsa, because he was always up for fun.
Hi everybody, lovely to see so many people here. Yeah, so we've heard a lot about the conditions that went into creating this place, or allowing us to move from this place, from this centre in Broom Hill that we had, which, you know, we say it was adequate, it worked, but you went in through an archway by the hairdressers, past the motorbikes, past the wheelie bins, up some narrow, dingy stairs, and then you came into this place that was a shrine of this amazing red carpet, brilliant red, it was like a flash at you. And I just took to wearing red socks because I didn't want to clash with the carpet. I've been wearing red socks ever since. Anyway, slightly beside the point. But yeah, we've heard a lot about some of the conditions that came together to help to make this happen. But I want to really focus on somebody who hasn't been rejoiced in and who was completely central. This would not happen with him, and that is Achara. It wouldn't have happened with him. I mean, the centre, when it was originally on the market, was beyond our resources, and Achara got the price down to what turned out to be a fair price given the state of the roof, but he got the price down to a reasonable price where we could buy it. He project managed this big sangha project. I mean, we're talking volunteers here, they're not always easy to manage. They're giving of their time, so if they don't turn up, well, you know, I mean, it's up to me, isn't it? So he project managed this big, it's complicated. It was a complicated project. He project managed that very well. And when we discovered that the roof was falling in, I thought this was genius, actually, because Achara said, well, I'll ask the people who own the school, the ex-school across the way. I said, oh, come on. Why would they agree to let us use their school? Achara gets on the phone and, yeah, we can use their school. I mean, we bribe them? And of course, getting grants from English Heritage to replace the roof, to then do ceiling as well, to point the building, etc., etc. So without Achara's financial business type skills and his communication skills, we would not have this. We just simply would not have this. We might still be wearing red socks, so we don't clash. So yeah, but having refurbished the building, we needed to fill it up. I mean, there were people at the time who said, well, what's the point of having this hall? We'll never use more than the front shrine room, and just never do that. It seemed inconceivable given the numbers of people who used to come here. And I think it would be fair to say that most Trivandrum, as it was then, FWBO centres were a bit in the doldrums, actually. There was a loss of confidence. There seemed to be a loss of confidence. And to my eyes, it was not always clear that people sort of had a clear idea of what a Buddhist centre was, somehow. The standard model was to sort of finance the place very, very largely by running introductory meditation retreats, which frequently didn't have all that much dharmic content. Yeah, you could get an income from that. I mean, there was a big market for that, for stress relief, mental health, etc. But it wasn't totally clear to me that we should be doing that, actually. And that's how a lot of centres were funded. And centres also charged for other events. They charged for equivalent of our sangha night. They charged often for literary study. They charged every time you turn up, it's a charge. It seemed to me there was a sort of lack of clarity of what we were doing. So it wasn't always clear whether we thought of our centres, whether the centres thought of themselves as a business, or as an adult education centre. I think, you know, closing for terms and things like that, or a mental health charity, or have to say, a playground for all the members to do precisely what they like. And when we looked at it, what are we? What are we? We are a community. We are a community, and we're a dharmic community, and our job is to attract more people into this dharmic community so that more people can benefit from the Dharma and the Sangha. We're a community, and we're about gathering a community. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, luckily, the Dharma tells us how to do it. So there's a sutta in the Pali Canon there. There's this chap, Hataka. And the Buddha, Hataka's been he's a lay household and disciple of the Buddha. And the Buddha had obviously gone off on his travels, and sometime considerably later come back to the town where Hataka lived. And Hataka had got this big community. He'd gathered this big sangha. And the Buddha said, well, how did you manage this? How did you gather this sangha, Hataka? And Hataka said, well, just did what you told me, Lord. I practiced what come to be called the four Amoghavamsas, the four means of unification, or the four means of bringing people together, which are generosity, kindly speech, beneficial activity, and exemplification. And Hataka said to the Buddha, when I could make a connection with somebody, when I swore I could make a connection with somebody through generosity, I practiced generosity. When I could make a connection with someone through kindly speech, etc., etc., etc. And the Buddha says, yes, Hataka, yes. In fact, the Buddha says every spiritual community that's been gathered in the past has been gathered by means of those four Sangha. Every Buddhist community, every spiritual community that exists at the moment has been gathered by means of those four Sangha-avastas. And every spiritual community there will be in the future will be gathered by the use of those four Sangha-avastas. Every community in the future. So that's us told. That's us told. That's how you're going to do it. And also, I mean, it's what the Dharma tells us. It's also what Ugyen Sankaraksha, the founder of our movement, says. So he, in one of his seminars, he says this is what a Buddhist center should do. It's what they should be doing. They should be gathering a community by the practice of the four Sangha-avastas. So we're a community, and we're gathering a community. Well, that's fine, but it's got certain, sometimes quite difficult implications because, well, a community does not charge you to join it. It doesn't put a charge on, so you can't really then use introductory classes as your main means of gaining money. And communities don't actually charge members to meet, to get together. That's not how they support themselves. What communities do is different people contribute in different ways to support the community. That's how communities work. And if people don't want to do that, you haven't got a community. So what's the point? And dana, so the four Sangha-avastas, the four means of gathering a community: generosity, kindly speech, beneficial activity, and exemplification. The first one is dana, generosity. So we bit the bullet, and it took a little bit of time, but we made, like, all Buddhist events at this centre are going to be free. That includes residential retreats that cost thousands to book a location. Just make them free. That was probably almost as scary as getting the place in the first place. And that's possible. I mean, so the practice of generosity is, it's part of our practice. It's part of the Bodhisattva or the trainee Bodhisattva's practice, to practice generosity. And we saw ourselves as trying to do that. It's always been a really important part of this centre. So
the Dharma economy becomes, what we call the Dharma economy, becomes possible because people are willing to contribute their skills, their talent, their time for nothing if possible, as volunteers, or for quite, I suppose, ridiculously small levels of support. I think, you can correct me on this, but I think the average support for a full-time worker at the centre is still about £10,000. So people are doing it as part, they're working it as part of their practice of generosity. And that, to some extent, makes the whole thing happen. Yeah, well, I've talked to people about this, including, I have to say, people from some other centres, and been told it was completely bonkers. Totally round the bend. But it worked. It worked. The Dharma economy, where we make everything for free and the community supports itself, those who've got some resources, people give in all sorts of ways, people who've got some resources, some financial resources, they look after the financial needs of the community. People give in every other sort of way, because we are a community. And this is possible because the Dharma economy makes us partners in a common project. It makes us partners in a common project rather than buyers and sellers. If we're buyers and sellers, we're divided into two camps. It's the seller's responsibility to get the money. And we'll give, if we have to give, the buyers will give. So it makes us partners in a common project rather than buyers and sellers. And I think that has really just engendered a terrific spirit of community in this Buddhist centre. So we've got the rupa, we've got the form, but we need, the spirit within that form is just really, really important. And generosity inspires generosity. It's sort of almost a truism. Generosity just inspires generosity. So we haven't just created a community and created a spirit of community, we've created a very, very generous community. And a very friendly community where people really, we are a community. We are a community, not a pretend community. Not a pretend community. We are partners in a common project. And there's a real generosity and a real friendship, a real friendliness around this sangha, which I have to say, partly comes from Amoghavamsa. Well done, Amoghavamsa, because Amoghavamsa's friendliness has always been part of this. And I should have said a bit more about Amoghavamsa earlier on. No, I'm going to, sorry. Because, we had all those people, etc., that contributed to making this happen. But one of those was simply Amoghavamsa's friendliness, keeping the Sangha united. When, there was quite a big conflict there about do you take this massive risk? And Amoghavamsa magically kept the Sangha united and kept the Sangha united subsequently. He was also extremely good at letting people do what they were good at. Including Achara, which rather than having to be the person who does it all, very, very good at letting people do what they were good at. Anyway, the end result of that is the community we've got here. Not just that we've heard a lot about the rupa, the form, but also something to do with the spirit. I should say maybe a little bit about beneficial activity as well, because beneficial activity is the third of the Sangha, but that's always seen, the most important aspect of that's been seen as teaching the Dharma, because that solves people's real problems. And we have put quite a lot of effort into making our classes work, making them have a coherent pathway which keeps people together and allows people to deepen their practice. And that also wasn't necessarily easy because it involves the centre team saying, you'll do it this way, not that way.
And that's not an easy thing to do. So that was also part of Amoghavamsa's genius, that we managed to sort of do that in a way. So that's a bit about the model. Our model is we are building a community. We are gathering a community. But there's a mythic dimension to this as well. It's not just a practical dimension, there's a mythic dimension. And Satyajyoti mentioned this, is that the thousand-armed Avalokiteshvara, this figure who has 1,000 arms, or many, many, many arms, representing individuals, holding those arms, holding implements, so individuals offering what they can offer to beings for their liberation, but all united around this magical gem, the bodhicitta that he's holding to his heart. And our myth, the myth of this Buddhist center, is that we came together and we continue to come together to mutually create that bodhisattva, to mutually create a bodhisattva. And that we are arms of that bodhisattva. We are inviting other people in. We're creating something much bigger than ourselves. And that's always been the sort of prevailing myth of this Buddhist center. And I just hope that it can really carry on and there'll be loads more arms. So, thank you very much.
So thank you so much to Achara and Vadanya for it's been really great to hear it, and I really hope it's all recorded properly so we've got it for posterity as well. It's been fantastic for your generosity coming today as well and sharing it with us. What I'd like to do now is invite Advayacitta as well, Vadanya, Achara, and Amoghavamsa, if you'd like to come up to the front, please. Fantastic timing as well. So we're going to have a tea break now, and we'll come back together at 3:30, when we'll hear 3 short talks and then do a puja together.
Taking some good stats. Some videos, or just taking pictures.
Oh, yes, so the Laura's here, not just
Yes.
Still needs feather quality. Back in the early
Stuff down.
See where the feather went?
Feather.
Probably in here. I'll have a check.
Everything else will stay.
I'll need two notebooks, one for my back and one for this.
And what will happen is that when we first come up, we'll get you a seat somewhere there.
Sure.
Just we should talk to that, so let's stretch them. And also, you might need to say, when you finish the picture, that's everything finished.
Okay, yes.
And invite people if they like to sit on.
It's going very well. Lovely.
Should I just come back at like 20 past to get them? Yeah. I do have I'm all my dress pieces. That's just personal, but the other mic will be fine.
Alright, let's do that.
Do we need a mic?
Lina, what's it doing?
Are we doing the rest later? Or are we doing this chat?
So you don't need to do it now. So
Yeah, I'll just do this last one. I'll grab this.
I need help.
Because if you I think make it easier.
Might be this side.
Can you also get that fire over there? So it's not nothing's.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Create a central line.
Ah, good.
Oh, it's in the green room.
That's great.
No, I put it. Yeah. I think it's fine. Yeah. Is there a video? Would it be arranged to sorry, wait for the video? Where does this live? You've got stuff in your head, it's nice. Yeah. Where do we put this thing?
In the shining store, just over there.
And that room, whatever that is. Does the dustpan brush live?
No, it's all in there, it's all from the shrine cupboard.
Oh, we got this room.
Oh, is that from downstairs? It's a different
Downstairs,
one.
yeah.
Okay. That's good.
When you arranged to get our gutter fixed,
Oh, yes.
it was very.
Gary and Nicholas, I think, came around.
Oh, right.
They carried a ladder or
Yeah, maybe it must have been a really tall one.
not really a triple ladder thing.
Yeah.
It's all over. It's similar.
Yeah, just the height, but.
The whole thing falls down, so the stone underneath it is really important.
Ah, okay.
But if you pull that out of the way to
Yeah.
put it down again.
Okay.
So that stone is holding out.
Okay, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, so we'll keep it there and then it should go on. Alright, let's go down. We've got 15 minutes. Well, no, it's 1:30, isn't it? Coming up, so we've got 25 minutes.
Oh, great.
It's time for a. I thought it was locked in there. Yeah.
Are we going for a walk around them? I believe so, yeah. So, oh, we didn't mention it, did we? No. Actually, it may be, maybe I might mention that and see if they want to, allowed to do an announcement, go on with it. Bring shoes up. Did you believe him? Did you just get him? Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm losing my notes. People want it.
Just look like that. Let's just want to stand to the side. Stand like that. Yes, that's good. Let's do that. Yeah. I'll introduce you.
That's why I put it aside, so you can twist that like that. You can stand there, and then you can go there for people who want.
Just it.
How did we sound? Just ask the audience. Sorry? Just ask the audience.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it like? We did all of it.
I love that Meg when the third bit comes in.
Yeah, just a squishy one.
Okay, hello. So welcome to the second part of our celebratory day. So we've been hearing about the past, how this place came to be. It's been incredible, hasn't it? I mean, I found it such an honour and like privilege and a joy just to really hear and witness these incredible people who've done so much. It's amazing that we can actually hear from them. We can hear those stories and keep those alive and really just feel grateful and all these things people have done, for all these people who they didn't know they were doing it for, like us. They just really believed that the Dharma was what people needed, and they really wanted to give that. And did that through friendship, and that's absolutely incredible. And that continues to this day. So now we're moving into sort of the present, and we're going to be hearing from 3 sangha members what the sangha really means to them. And then after that, where things are going to get a bit more cosmic, we'll be moving to the mythic part, perhaps looking towards the future, but I'll say more about that in a moment. So first we're going to hear 3 short talks. We're going to be hearing from Leela Mati, and then Dennis, and then Emma. And so I think that's all I need to say for now. So yeah, really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And do we have our feather wavers still? Yeah, great. So if we wave it about if you see the feather, I think it'll be about 7 minutes, and you've got 1 minute left to wrap up. Great. So first, Leela Mati.
Can you hear me okay back? Good. Wow. Hello, everyone. So, my name is Leela Mati. As you can tell from my accent, I didn't grow up in Sheffield. But in terms of my Buddhist life, I am definitely Sheffield Buddhist Centre born and bred. So I've only ever visited a handful of other Buddhist centres, perhaps for a day each at most. So in terms of my Buddhist heritage, I reckon I'm about 80% Sheffield, and then like 10% Taraloka and 10% Tiratnaloka, which are both women's retreat centres. So I first came to the Buddhist Centre in 2006 when I was 30, and the Buddhist Centre in this building must have been 4. So my life was kind of looking okay. I'd qualified as a clinical psychologist, I'd got my first job, I'd bought a house and just got together with a very lovely man who's now my husband, Lewis. But I wasn't particularly happy. I was anxious and quite burned out in my work. I was plagued by perfectionism, self-criticism and guilt. And I think I was also having a bit of an existential crisis where I'd kind of got everything that I'd grown up to think that would make me happy in my life, and it just wasn't quite doing it for me. And my life lacked meaning, something I'm really happy to say that I've found here. So I first came to the centre when I was invited to the Mitra ceremony of a very dear friend who's now called Mitra Siddhi and lives at Taraloka. So there were 2 things in her Mitra ceremony that really grabbed me and made me think, I want some of this. So the first thing was listening to Suryamati rejoice in my friend's merits. So she must have only known her for a few months at that time, but I deeply resonated with the rejoicing that my friend had somehow been really seen in all her potential. And then I was really blown away by the mantra, all of those voices chanting in harmony. And it was like something from the beyond spoke to something deep inside of me, and I was deeply moved. So it was really delightful actually to think that today I'm doing both of those things, getting a chance to rejoice in the centre itself and also singing in the choir. So back in 2006, I came to an introductory course led by Vadanya and a woman called Vajratara, who is now was Mitra convener here for quite some time, and now works at the Women's Ordination Training Centre at Tiratnaloka. And I came with Dharmamai and with another mutual friend. And I remember really clearly sitting here in this hall and Vadanya turning over the flip chart, which I think we still have. I love that we still have flip charts. And it had the positive version of the 3 Lakshanas on. We can change, we are interconnected, happiness comes from within. And I just felt like I'd come home, that something had been articulated that I'd somehow always believed, but I'd never had words for before that moment. And here I am now. So when I've been reflecting on what the centre means to me, the word Kalyana, Sanskrit word, has come to mind. I've always loved this word, and it encompasses these 3 interconnected qualities of truth, ethical goodness, and beauty. And I've got an image for the centre in terms of each of those. So first, the quality of truth, reality. So my image for that is that the centre is a shelter in a storm. So I've got a climbing background, so I've got a really strong image sense of one of those little mountain bothies that you might find halfway up a mountain, and you can step into it, and it might actually save your life when a storm is raging all around. and it gives you safety, warmth, sometimes some emergency sustenance. And I feel like there's lots of storms going on in the world right now. Maybe there's always lots of storms going on in samsara. And from time to time, there's also storms in my life and in my mind. So times when I've very particularly experienced the shelter and the nurture of the Dharma and Sangha here, where I remember when my son was very, very young and life felt very intense and I felt very overwhelmed. And also around the time when my mum died. And then more recently in the first COVID lockdown, when I felt really overwhelmed again by the challenges of managing a business and also trying to homeschool my son. And all of the Zoom events that got set up so quickly, so efficiently here, just really became a lifeline for me in that time. So I want to rejoice in the quality of the teaching at the centre, from the introductory course and the Mitra study course, both developed here in Sheffield by Vadanya, to the quality of the talks and meditation teaching at Sangha night and on Sangha retreats. And particularly as the mum of a young child, I was so grateful at a time when I couldn't get anywhere further afield, that I had everything I needed to make progress in my Dharma life right here on my doorstep. So then secondly, the quality of ethical goodness. So my image for this is that the centre is an anchor for me. It keeps me anchored to the weightiness of what is most important in my life. And it keeps me connected into the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, and also to Buddhist ethics. So I want to rejoice in the quality of ethics practiced here, and in particular, the qualities of generosity that Vadanya talked about, and of skillful communication, which Achara taught about in those kind of meetings right in the beginning. So I really picked up on that in my introductory course. So there was something about how Vajratara and Vadanya communicated with each other that was just really inspiring, that there was this huge level of warmth and harmony between them, even when they evidently didn't agree on something. And I've just wanted some of that. And I particularly noticed that when people work at the centre for a while, they become really skillful communicators, particularly in difficult situations. But it's also something that we all co-create together. So I definitely speak and behave better in this building than I do probably anywhere else in my life, other than maybe on retreat. And I'm guessing I might not be alone in that. So what I've learned here about communication, I take out into the world. So I think it's definitely made me a better listener and therapist at work, and a more receptive and wiser leader and manager, and also a more patient, loving and relaxed mum. So lastly, the quality of beauty. So my image for this is that the centre is a flower. Maybe it's a flower being held up by a Buddha. I can see a feather being waved at me as well. So there's this story where the Buddha holds up a flower and Mahakashyapa, one of his followers, just suddenly gets it just from seeing that flower. So the beauty of this building itself, thanks to those who found and bought and renovated it, the beauty of the amazing gardens, the beauty of these fabulous shrines, which always seem to be looking particularly gorgeous at the moment. The beauty of the choir, which both Sangha Gita and Dharma Maya before her so lovingly nurtured, and the beauty of all of you that come here. So I think I just really wanted to say I love this centre so much, and I'm so grateful for its presence in my life and in the world.
Thank you. Great. It's a real thrill and delight to have been invited to speak today, and what I feel is a really auspicious occasion. 20 years of this Buddhist centre. It makes me really proud to have been given this opportunity. So thank you to the team initially for that. And I've really enjoyed watching the videos and listening to people's stories from 20 years ago, and the story of how this place came to be. So my personal relationship with the centre, sort of key points. My first experience really was going back to prior to actually coming in the place in the first place, investigating whether I wanted to come to a Buddhist centre. And if you look on the website, it describes the centre as the hub of a thriving community
of practicing Buddhists, the hub of a thriving community of practicing Buddhists. And I was really taken by that, actually. That really was one of the key things that made me think, actually, this could be for me. You know, I'm thinking about this. That was a key phrase. I really like that. The hub of something, of course, is I looked this up, the central axis of something that drives or powers everything else. And really, that's exactly what this centre is, or that's what it means to me. It really drives and powers my practice. So when I first came along on an intro course, that was January 2015. Some of my good friends were on the teaching team at the time. I can see around here, and it's just lovely to be able to sort of relate to you again today up here. Great to think back at those first Dharma teachings, really what they meant to me. And my sense of the centre itself, because I really want to rejoice in the centre as well as the sangha. The centre itself, when I first came here, I had a strong feeling, as many people describe it, of feeling at home. Not necessarily coming home, but I felt at home. I felt very comfortable, at ease, and there was a real sense of peace and calm. And what I grew to learn was the worldly winds were slowly starting to dissipate the longer I stayed here. And a sense, an indescribable sense of, well, everything can be all right in the world. Whenever I come in here, whether I come through the Joseph Road entrance or up those golden railed entrance at the other side, the common side, there's just a sense of the weight of the world starts to slowly shift off my shoulders, and everything can be okay. The centre itself, I had a strong sense of it being surrounded by beauty and by being loved and cared for and tended by the people here. And one of the key things really was it felt established as well. So 2015, the centre would have been around for sort of 12, 13 years. And I got a really strong sense of its rootedness in the community. That really was something that sparked my inspiration as well. And it led to me asking a question as I came to think about this talk. The question this week that arose for me was, would I have caught the Dharma without this centre? Would I have actually had this sort of heart-opening response to the Dharma had it not been for the centre? I could have learnt about the Dharma through books or magazines or maybe TV documentaries or just speaking to other people. But there was something about the centre that really established and rooted the Dharma in my mind. It provides for me in my practice a place of solidity and structure. And much more than that, actually, was something that I have come to realize that I was lacking in my life altogether, was this is a sacred space. You know, I did not have that in my life, a sense of a sacred space. A place to come and revere something higher than myself. You know, I've really grown to know its importance in my life. And also, of course, a glimpse of enlightenment. You know, this place provides glimpses of enlightenment. So moving on to 2017, this centre and the sangha started, its sort of gravitational pull was started to have an effect on me. I lived on the edge of Sheffield, and I decided to sell my house. I think it's a Steely Dan song that talks about the Bodhisattva selling his house in town. My Mitra group said, well, that's you. You know, that's what you're doing. Just simply this sort of magnetic pull of the centre of the sangha meant that I wanted to be here or around the centre and be much more part of the activities going on here. So what I did, I moved into the old house on Heavygate Road into the men's community. And to give you an idea of what that meant to sort of achieve that, I was living in a 3-bedroom house on the edge of Sheffield, with all that entails that you can fit into a 3-bedroom house. I moved into a bedroom in that Heavygate Road house, slightly bigger than the Blue Room, but not much bigger than the Blue Room. That was the sense of my determination to move somewhere closer. So my involvement in the centre I seem to be sort of here quite regularly. Mitra study nights, I'm in a TFO group. I love taking part in the introductory courses. And I love to help beautify the centre as well. I really enjoy being in the gardens, helping to landscape the lawn down there was a recent project, the memorial gardens. And I see these as sort of self-perpetuating acts of giving. The more beautiful the centre becomes, the more I want to put my energy into that activity. And it's a sort of an upwardly cyclical process. So, and Avalokiteshvara behind me. I just love being an arm of Avalokiteshvara. Sorry, was that slight wave? Okay, I'd like to just really finish by thanking the people who helped make this centre possible once again, because without their vision and their foresight 20 years ago, I would not have changed and grown in the way that I have, and that goes for everybody else in the sangha. This centre really has been instrumental in those changes for everybody. And so thank you for listening. Thank you to the guys from 20 years ago. I almost forgot to say, I'm kicking off the next 20 years of the Buddhist Centre by continuing to wear red socks. They've now got dinosaurs on. I hope Vadanya approves. Thank you.
I'm just going to set my timer as well. Oh, thank you. Hi there. I'm nervous. Can I be heard okay? Yeah, great. As Lena, Matty and Dennis said, it's really been a joy preparing this talk, and it's made me realise I could probably talk for hours about the effect, and I've really had to sort of, I think mainly because there's just so much gratitude that's arisen. So I'm going to have to surrender to the fact that I can't say it all. But the main things that I want to communicate, that this centre has given me a gift of a true home in every sense, a life beyond my wildest dreams, and that I am beyond grateful to those in this room, as Dennis really beautifully put, without that vision and courage to bring it to being. So a parable that has become really important to me in relation to my relationship to the centre is the parable of the return journey. So I'm going to talk a bit about, I'm going to tell that story very briefly and kind of use that to frame my experience of my time at the Buddhist Centre. Read it. I'm not going to do it justice. It's a beautiful parable because I've got to summarise it. So briefly, a son leaves his father to a far-off place for a very long time. And whilst he's away, unbeknownst to him, his father gains riches beyond his wildest dreams, a life of beauty. And although he's happy and he's got elephants and all the things of that time, he desperately wants to share and pass this on to his son. And he doesn't know where his son is. So the son travels from town to town. He's got a miserable life of poverty. He's had a complete opposite experience of his father. He just keeps traveling, looking for work, looking for a better life. And eventually he stumbles across the town where his father lives. And he comes across this mansion, and the son sees all the wealth and beauty of his mansion. He sees this rich man, and he's sat on a throne being fanned by servants, and doesn't recognise that it's his father. And he's scared and intimidated, thinks he's come across maybe a king, and he's really fearful of being enslaved, and flees in fear. So the father recognises this and immediately and sends servants after him to bring him back. But the son is so terrified that he's going to get arrested, he faints with fear. And his father realises that he's got so accustomed to poverty that he's not in a place where he can live with the riches that his father wants to offer him. So he takes a different approach and keeps his identity secret. And slowly but surely employs him at the mansions, first right at the gate, shifting soil, and eventually more and more closer to the mansion, more and more responsibility, until he slowly but surely becomes accustomed to that way of life and trusts it until his dad, just before he dies, can tell him, this is all yours. So now back to my story. So 10 years ago, I was lost, disillusioned, and very depressed, living in London. And I went to a meditation class at the London Buddhist Centre. From my time there and what I glimpsed there and my experience at London Buddhist Centre, I 8 years ago became a mitra, and 7 years ago I asked for ordination, all at the London Buddhist Centre. And I actually started a small women's community there. And my experience there had given me a real glimpse of the gem of the Dharma, of the Sangha, and I really, really wanted more. But I kind of just knew that the conditions in London had taken me as far as they could, really. I was still quite shy and quite defensive and quite fearful, and it was really easy in London to keep people really far away. It's really easy to be quite anonymous there. And I knew I needed deeper friendships. So I wandered from town to town. And I stumbled across a woman called Achara, which some of you may know, a retreat centre at Tiratnaloka. And she suggested, as she suggests to a lot of people, have you thought about Sheffield? The ambassador of Sheffield. And I said, okay, I will. And she invited me up for a weekend and offered me a place in the community. I only met her for 2 days. And I really did fall in love straight away. Never really experienced anything like it. I fell in love with Sheffield, but I also fell in love with the centre, and I was just in awe of the beauty of it. I really remember looking out from the windows in the tea room and just seeing all of Sheffield, and I just thought, this is extraordinary, this is beautiful. And the night that I was there, Bodhinaga was doing a talk, and it was the first time I'd heard the Dharma spoken in a Yorkshire accent. And there was just something really magical to me about that. I was like, what is this place? And within 4 months, I'd moved here, and very luckily, Dharma Maya was getting ordained, and I was able to use their room. So I moved here, and I was met with such love. 3 things really stand out from those first few weeks and months that I was here. The first is my first sangha night, Amoghavamsa, just coming up to me and saying, we're so happy you're here, Emma. We're so happy you're here. And I was like, I don't know who you are. I really believe you. I just felt so loved. I was like, I just trusted him implicitly. And after a couple of weeks, it was my birthday, and a woman called Rachel I was living with said, why don't you come to Hathasij Lido? My friend, Helen, who's now Leela Massey, can she come? And I was like, yeah, great. And she came with a gift for me, and I've never met you. What is this place? It was so wonderful. And then my final memory is I remember whinging to Pressy that I didn't get a Sheffield Mitra ceremony, and she wrote me a little rejoicing and gave me a Mitra gift, and it was so beautiful. And I was, these were within weeks and months of me moving here, and even though I felt the love, it did feel really foreign to me, and I did feel, can I trust this? Is this real? This is really foreign to me, and slowly but surely, I found myself, after a few years, back in a high-powered career that I'd, vowed to leave behind in London, and chasing ridiculous boys, and what am I doing? This isn't what I came for. But I'd kept my relationship to the centre. I'd gone to Mitra study. I came to Sangha nights, even though sometimes I would, just come for the talk and leave. And every time I was there, more and more, I just began to trust the kindness and the generosity. And I think a lot of the fun as well. This is where I've increasingly had the most fun. So 2 years ago, I quit the job that I was in. And after a chance conversation with Satyajyoti, I started to do 2 days a week here. And I really, at that time, I just knew, well, why am I putting my energy into something that's not serving me? And I just want to have fun. And it was the fun, really, I think, that brought me here. And so I did 2 days, and eventually I did 3 days, and I quit my second job, and then about 6 months ago, I started working here full time. And I haven't got loads of time. I said to Satyajyoti, it's really hard to keep this short, but I'm aware of time. So I just want to say what a joy it is to work here. And I think there's a fear that, oh God, when you look behind the curtain, it'll just be all toxic. And it's the opposite. I see more generosity, more kindness that people don't get to see. It really is a privilege. And my life now is rooted in friendship, real friendship, which is just the joy of my life, and I'm so grateful for it. And this is where I feel safe now. And As some people know, I recently got a phone call to say that my best friend had only got a few minutes to live, and the people I was with said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "Just take me to the centre. Take me to the centre. I don't know who will be there, but the friends will be here, and I'll get what I need." And I did. I got what I need, because I always get what I need here. So that is my 8 minutes. So I'm going to leave there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I feel really moved, all three of you. So, yeah, thank you again, Leela, Matty, Dennis, and Emma. Let's give them all a round. Gosh, wow. And it just makes me realise as well how many people there are in the lineage from when this place was founded until now have been so crucial, given so much time. I could start reeling off names, but then I'd miss people out. But yeah, so many people. So just, you know who you are. So like, yeah, thank you from everyone. We've all been part of this as well. Good. So we're going to be moving on to the next part. We're going to be having a puja from Padmavajra. But just before we start moving into that direction, just a couple of brief practical things. One is, during the ritual, there will be the opportunity to pay respect to the stupa, our northern stupa, outside here, through this door. Now, I have tested it. You could probably get away with it in your socks. I thought, oh, it's fine, there's a bit of gravel. But if you would rather have something on your feet, when we have our silent leg stretch soon, do go and grab your shoes, and you can leave them just here if you want to do that. And there'll be candles, and I think the ability to make offerings out there as well. And also at the very end of the proceedings, if we could, it'd be great if everyone could help put away the shrine gear. But would there be anyone who could stay just a little bit longer, so that maybe to help final sweeping in here, taking the shrine room down, returning it to normal, and also tidying a bit downstairs? Would anyone be able to do that? If you could raise your hand if you're available. Brilliant, thank you. Great. So I think I can move on to... Yep. So we're going to have a very brief leg stretch. We'll do that in silence, just to kind of keep, so we can absorb and assimilate what we've been listening to moving into this ritual space of puja. And then Padmavajra will be leading us in that. And I don't have as normal as I would, as long as I would like to sort of introduce Padmavajra. But he's the president of our centre. He's a great friend to our centre, and very, very grateful that he came here for the day. You know, he's just come here for the day. Rick's brought him here, and they're going to go straight back to Padmaloka because they're beginning there at home tomorrow. So very generous that you just said yes, and said yes, he'd be here to help us celebrate. He's been such a friend to our centre. He comes here about twice a year and just leaves, and we all just feel blessed, and that everything is great, and we're doing great, and that's just pours blessings and wisdom and the Dharma to everybody. So yeah, much gratitude and thanks in advance, because we won't be applauding you at the end of the puja. Yeah. So I think that's everything. So yeah, we'll have a few minutes, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes leg stretch, and then get your shoes if you'd like, and then yeah, we'll be back in here to start the puja.
So we'll begin by saluting the three jewels, saluting the shrine. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Namah. Om. Hum.
So we're going to conclude this 20th anniversary, 20th birthday celebration of the opening of this incredible centre, the Sheffield Buddhist Centre, in a very traditional way. We're going to have a sevenfold puja. We're going to be worshipping the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. We're going to be worshipping the Bodhisattvas and the great teachers, and we're going to be invoking the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. We're going to offer up all of our efforts, the efforts of everybody that have gone into this centre, to the refugees, to enlightenment itself, embodied by the Buddha, to the path and the teachings of the Dharma, and to the great community, the real Sangha, the Arya Sangha, of the great spiritual beings and the Bodhisattvas. We're aspiring to be such a Sangha. In a sense, we don't have Sangha yet. We're on the way. We're on the way. On a good day, we're on the way. But the more we draw on the inspiration of the true Sangha, the Sangha of those who are irreversible on the path to enlightenment, then this really will be a true Sangha. And actually, I must say, it is a wonderful Sangha, and I've enjoyed all of the rejoicings in the Sangha today. I think it is well worth reflecting. One of the things that has come over in all of the talks and presentations, and by the way, people are so pleased I've come up for the day and made all that effort. I wouldn't have missed this for anything. I really wouldn't have missed this for anything. I would have come for longer, but actually I could only do it for a day. But I got a trusty driver in Rick, who of course has got proper Sheffield pedigree, and he's a really good driver, very safe driver. So, but I wouldn't have missed coming here for anything. Really glad to be a part of this. I'm very proud, I can use that word, very proud of being the president of the Sheffield Buddhist Centre. It's one of my most important responsibilities, most beloved, one of my most beloved responsibilities. I forget when I became the president, about 10 years ago maybe, came out of friendship. Don't like the word president. I'd much rather another word, some fantastic Sanskrit word that sounds very grand, but, kulapati or something like that. But let's not go there. Let's not get too grandiose. But it came out of friendships and connections. And when I first came here, I think Amoghavamsa was just handing over. And then that was before I was president. And then Surya Mati became the president, then Maitri Dasa. And of course, the current president is Satyajyoti. Chair, President Chair. See, that's why you need a different word. But the current chair is Satyajyoti. And I would like to just mention Satyajyoti. We've developed a very good friendship since she became the chair of the centre. I would like to mention in a way all of the current trustees, the centre team and all that, but it would take too long. I'm going to rejoice a little bit in Satyajyoti so that and just take that as rejoicing in all of you who are currently the custodians, that lovely word that was used, I think, by Achara, was it, of the centre. I'm very, very fond of Satyajyoti, and we talk fairly often. Every so often I'll get a message from her, can we have a talk? And she'll just explain various things going on in the centre. She keeps me informed, asks me for any comment, just wants me to know what's happening, maybe sometimes present something to me to help clarify. We talk about my visits, we talk about developments, we talk about her, and it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be with Satyajyoti, and I'm just so impressed by her as the chair. We didn't know each other very well, did we, before you became the chair? But it just shows you don't have to have a lot of knowledge of somebody personally to become a friend of theirs. And as long as you're going for refuge, as long as the Dhamma is present there, and you have this common project of bringing the Dharma into the world. And one of the things about Satyajyoti, she's part of, well, she's not so much the new generation now because she's been the chair for quite a long time. You know, I always get slightly concerned when she starts, you know, talking about how long she's been the chair, because I think, oh, is something else coming after this? Yeah, don't worry, it hasn't yet. But she's presiding over a whole new generation of people running the centre. You know, and again, I'm looking around the room, looking at different people who've come up, worked in the centre team, who've moved on or are moving on, and there's another generation coming up. And this is really inspiring. It's incredibly inspiring to see that. It's very easy, in some ways, though it's very challenging and difficult, it's fairly easy to start things. In a way, it's quite easy to run things. Handing on is much more difficult, especially if you've got very strong ideas about how things should be. I remember mentioning to one of the senior elders in the centre when he was talking about handing on, and I said to him, you know, when you hand on, the next generation are going to do things that you don't like, and you're going to have to let them do it. He said, I know, and I hate the thought. You know, because I mean, certainly, you know, I can feel it happening in my own context at Padmavajra. But you know, there's a real art and skill to handing on, because yes, people have to have initiative, but you must also take great care to transmit very, very vividly the values that you've lived by, the best of you. The sangha of vastus have been mentioned, generosity has been mentioned, and kindly speech, which are practiced very, very well here. Beneficial activity, communicating the Dhamma, yes, it goes on here, but to communicate the Dhamma, you need to know the Dhamma as the Dharma. As the Dharma, not in accordance with all of your previous conditioning, all the views in current society. The Dharma is not like anything else. The Buddha just likens it to the great and mighty and mysterious ocean. It's like nothing else. And you have to go into it very, very deeply to really communicate it. So we have this very, very precious opportunity as individuals and as a sangha to go more deeply into the Dharma, to really offer something different, very different to what's around in the world. So, you know, one thing you can take from this, these incredible conditions have been set up for us to go very deeply into the Dharma and then to exemplify that in our lives. Exemplify that development in the Dhamma, transformation in the Dhamma is possible. You don't have to exemplify enlightenment, that's asking far too much. Or even very highly developed stages of the path, but exemplifying even your struggle, your effort, the great victories that you make, and yes, even admitting the failures that you make. This is a tremendous thing to offer the world. Living in this, studying and entering into this different world of Dhamma, and then demonstrating it to others. And that will be, of course, in your kindly speech and in your generosity, but also in your clarity about the nature of the Dharma. So it's very precious what we have here, and it's going to go on into the future. It's wonderful to see new people coming in and coming up and taking responsibility. We can really celebrate that. And yes, a very big thank you to Satyajyoti as the chair and to all the trustees and centre team members. With Satyajyoti keeping it all together, a very big thank you to you. Satyajyoti did not know that was going to happen. Okay, so with the puja, after the first section, the worship section, Dharma Mai, will lead us off in the Avalokiteshvara mantra. So we're invoking Mahakarunika, the greatly compassionate one, the one who is the embodiment of the essence of emptiness and compassion, wisdom and compassion, who we're trying to become, who is nothing other than the emanation of the Buddha's compassion, no different from Shakyamuni's compassion. We'll be really invoking him, and we can make offerings here and offerings at Dada Rinpoche's stupa in the memorial garden. In that stupa, there's a portion of the relics of Dada Rinpoche, who was one of Sangharakshita's teachers, who gave him the Bodhisattva vows, the Bodhisattva ordination, the vows to gain enlightenment for the benefit of all, and who Sangharakshita regarded as a living human Bodhisattva. So that stupa embodies practical human Bodhisattva activity. We can worship there. And perhaps also remember those who've given so much to the centre who are no longer with us. We'll go on with the rest of the puja, and then after the entreaty and supplication, Advayacitta, who is the senior most order member in Sheffield, is going to do a reading about the Sangraha Vastus, the means of unification, and after the transference of merits, we'll just have the concluding mantras. I'll get up and salute the shrine, and then we can start. We'll maybe leave a bit of time to sit in silence and then start clearing up. Okay. So just gathering yourselves for the puja. The sevenfold puja. Worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the pavings sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om
Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Padme Hum. Om Mani 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 Padme Hum. Om
Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Saddharma.
To the Saddharma.
And to the excellent community.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Going for refuge. This very day.
This very day.
I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge.
To the powerful protectors.
To the powerful protectors.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas,
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas,
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Anatipata.
Anatipata.
Vedamini.
Vedamini.
Sikkhapada.
Sikkhapada.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
Adinadana.
Adinadana.
Vedamini.
Vedamini.
Sikkhapada.
Sikkhapada.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
Amesu.
Amesu.
Achara.
Achara.
Vedamini.
Vedamini.
Sikkhapada.
Sikkhapada.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
Musavada.
Musavada.
Vedamini.
Vedamini.
Sikkhapada.
Sikkhapada.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
Sudhamerya.
Sudhamerya.
Nacha.
Nacha.
Amadatana.
Amadatana.
Vedamini.
Vedamini.
Sikkhapada.
Sikkhapada.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
Sadhu.
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 With deeds of loving kindness.
With deeds of loving kindness.
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With open-handed generosity.
With open-handed generosity.
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With stillness.
With stillness.
Simplicity.
Simplicity.
And contentment.
And contentment.
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With truthful communication.
With truthful communication.
I purify my speech.
I purify my speech.
With mindfulness, clear and radiant.
With mindfulness, clear and radiant.
I purify my mind.
I purify my mind.
Confession of faults. The evil that I have heaped up.
The evil that I have heaped up.
Through my ignorance and foolishness.
through my ignorance and foolishness.
Evil in the world of everyday experience.
Evil in the world of everyday experience.
As well as evil in understanding and intelligence.
As well as evil in understanding and intelligence.
All that I acknowledge to the protectors.
All that I acknowledge to the protectors.
Standing before them.
Standing before them.
With hands raised in reverence.
With hands raised in reverence.
And terrified of suffering.
And terrified of suffering.
I pay salutations again and again.
I pay salutations again and again.
May the leaders receive this kindly.
May the leaders receive this kindly.
Just as it is with its many faults.
Just as it is with its many faults.
What is not good, O protectors.
What is not good, O protectors.
I shall not do again.
I shall not do again.
Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight.
I rejoice with delight.
In the good done by all beings.
In the good done by all beings.
Through which they obtain rest.
Through which they obtain rest.
With the end of suffering.
With the end of suffering.
May those who have suffered be happy.
May those who have suffered be happy.
I rejoice in the release of beings.
I rejoice in the release of beings.
From the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
From the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva.
And the Buddha.
And the Buddha.
Who are protectors.
Who are protectors.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlighten.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlighten.
And the teaching.
And the teaching.
Those oceans that bring happiness to all beings.
Those oceans that bring happiness to all beings.
And are the abode of welfare of all beings.
And are the abode of welfare of all beings.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands.
Saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
Article and the Sangha of Astutes. On one occasion, the Blessed One was staying near Alavi, at the Agalava's shrine. Then Attica of Alavi, surrounded by approximately 500 other lay followers, went to the Blessed One. On arrival, having bowed down to the Blessed One, he sat to one side. As he was sitting there, the Blessed One said to him, "Large is your sangha following, Attica. How have you created this large sangha?" "Lord, I've created this large sangha through the 4 rounds of bonds of fellowship taught by the Blessed One. When I know that this person is in need of Dharma, then I create the bonds of fellowship by giving. When I know that this person is in need of kind words, then I create the bonds of fellowship by kind words. When I know that this person needs beneficial help, then I create the bonds of fellowship by beneficial help. When I know that this person is in need of consistency and exemplification, then I create the bonds of fellowship by consistency and exemplification. It's good, Attica. It's very good. This is the means by which you've created a large sangha. All those in the past who created the large sangha have done so by means of these four sacred grounds for the bonds of fellowship. All those in the future who will win over a large sangha will do so by means of these four sacred grounds for the bonds of fellowship. All those at present who are winning over a large following do so by means of these four same grounds for the bonds of fellowship. Then, having been instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged by the Blessed One with the talk on Dhamma, Achara got up from his seat, bowed down to the Blessed One, circled him, giving him on his right, and left. Not long after he had left, the Blessed One said to the monks, "Monks, remember Achara as being endowed with 8 amazing, astounding qualities." Which 8? Achara is endowed with conviction. He is virtuous. He has a sense of conscience. He has a sense of concern for the results of unskillful actions. He is learned. He is generous. He is discerning. He is modest. Remember Achara as being endowed with his 8 amazing, astounding qualities.
The Heart Sutra. The Bodhisattva of compassion, when he meditated deeply, saw the emptiness of all 5 skandhas, and sundered the bonds that caused him suffering. Here then, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. All things are by nature void. They are not born or destroyed, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So, in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought, or choice, nor is there consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No colour, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even act of sensing. No ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance. No withering, no death, no end of them. Nor is there pain or cause of pain, or ceasing pain, or noble path to lead from pain, not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in prajna wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, using this prajna wisdom, come to full and perfect vision. Hear then the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantra, the prajna paramita, whose words allay all pain. Hear and believe its truth. Gate, gate, paragate, arasangate, bodhi swaha. Gate, gate, paragate, arasangate, bodhi swaha. Gate, gate, paragate, arasangate, bodhi swaha. Transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained in my acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existences. My possessions. And my merit in all three ways. I give up without regard to myself. For the benefit of all beings. Just as the earth and other elements. Are serviceable in many ways. To the infinite number of beings. Inhabiting limitless space. So may I become. That which maintains all beings. Situated throughout space. So long as all have not attained. To peace. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Advayacitta. Om Advayacitta. Om Advayacitta. Om Advayacitta. Om Advayacitta. Om Vajrapani Hum. 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 Om Tare. Om Tare. 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 Swaha. Swaha. Om Tare. Om Tare. 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 Swaha. Swaha. Om Tare. Om Tare. 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 Swaha. Swaha. Om Amidevarihi. Om Amidevarihi. Om Amidevarihi. Om Amidevarihi. Om Amidevarihi. Om Amidevarihi. Om Mani Mani. Om Mani Mani. Mahamani. Mahamani. Shakyamani. Shakyamani. Swaha. Swaha. Om Mani Mani. Om Mani Mani. Mahamani. Mahamani. Shakyamani. Shakyamani. Swaha. Swaha. Om Mani Mani. Om Mani Mani. Mahamani. Mahamani. Shakyamani. Shakyamani. Swaha. Swaha. Om Mahu. Om Mahu. Vajraguru Padma. Vajraguru Padma. Siddhi Ho. Siddhi Ho. Om Mahu. Om Mahu. Vajraguru Padma. Vajraguru Padma. Siddhi Ho. Siddhi Ho. Om Mahu. Om Mahu. Vajraguru Padma. Vajraguru Padma. Siddhi Ho. Siddhi Ho. Gate Gate. Gate Gate. Hara Gate. Hara Gate. Sangate,
Sangate,
Bodhi Swaha,
Bodhi Swaha,
Gate Gate,
Gate Gate,
Haragate,
Haragate,
Sangate,
Sangate,
Bodhi Swaha,
Bodhi Swaha,
Gate Gate,
Gate Gate,
Haragate,
Haragate,
Sangate,
Sangate,
Bodhi Swaha,
Bodhi Swaha,
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
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 Shanti.